So we'll begin with a quick recap of what we have covered in session 5, that is in the last session. In the last session, we have seen that Mahatma Ji has clarified the misconceptions about the afterlife stages, after physical death, especially the stage of shell. He has explained the nature, the remembrance of the shell. What is the nature of remembrance? And he said that the shell regains some kind of remembrance, which only after the higher and the lower principles they separate. Okay? And the shell has no consciousness of the higher principles or the upper triad. Shell is only a shadow of the personality. Now, the nature of the shell, he explained, it is material-psychological attributes, and it is of the nature of sensations of the lower skandhas, the lower 5 skandhas. So that is the nature of the remembrance and the nature of the shell. And this shell, because it doesn't have a physical body, it perceives through the borrowed faculties and memory of the medium or of the seance circle. So therefore, there is an impassable gap or a gulf between the upper triad or the higher principles and the shell. There is no communication possible between the two. So this Mahatma Ji has categorically stated. Now this spiritual entity, that is the immortal ego or our upper triad, it has the identity of itself alone. Okay, that is the real man. So it identifies with itself alone and it does not think of the shell. It does not think of the personality. This is, I think, one of the very important things which have been explained in this letter, that the spiritual ego is not going to think about the shell or the personality. And the shell itself, after a while, it will disintegrate. But it is not, in most cases, it is not conscious of its disintegration. Barring a few exceptions, there are a few exceptions. Some cases of suicide or some extremely wicked persons or even half-successful sorcerers. Otherwise, in all other cases, shell will not have consciousness of its own disintegration. Now, in our present stage of evolution, the human mind, that is our 5th principle, the Mansik principle, it is so deeply influenced by the 4th principle, calm or desire, that not even half of the manas is pure enough at the time of physical death. Not even half of the manas is pure enough to be assimilated with buddhi and to be carried into devachan. This is what Mahatma Ji has mentioned to Senate. And he also said that a very important point, that a few years of studying and assimilating theosophy, it will lead to this larger purification of the mind. And then that purified mind, it will be integrated with the spiritual monad. So in our cycle of reincarnation, we know that in every reincarnation cycle, the personality is created anew. Okay, but it is not altogether a new, absolute new invention. It is basically the karmic creation of the preceding self. This point is also clarified to Senate. And then after that, Mahatma Ji threw some light on the status of Mars and Mercury and 4 other planets which are on the subtle planes. He says they belong to our system. See the words that he has used? He mentioned they belong to our system. He did not use the word about earth chain. So we are left to our own inference and intuition, what we make of it. Now we'll proceed further. We come to question number 24. Now in this question, Senate is asking Mahatma Ji about the sun. He asks, is the sun a habitation of highly spiritualized beings? And this is as said by Allan Kardec. Allan Kardec, he was a 19th century French teacher and also educator who developed the system of Spiritism. So Mahatma Ji emphatically says that sun is not the habitation or the dwelling place of any beings. Not even a Dhyan Chohan. A Dhyan Chohan of lower orders, it cannot approach the sun without having its body consumed. Its body will be annihilated. Okay, no material, no substance out of which these bodies are made. See, every intelligence, it has some physical base, some material basis. it has to work through some material. That material basis is its body. So that body will be consumed or annihilated. Only the highest planetary can scan the sun. That means it can know the sun as it really is. So these two terms which Mahatma Ji has used, Dhyan Chauhan and planetary. So in Theosophy, we know that Dhyan Chauhan, Dhyan means meditation, contemplating, and Chauhan means the chief. So Dhyan Chauhan is the chief of the Dhyanis. These Dhyanis are basically celestial beings who meditate or contemplate upon the divine plan. And they perceive the ideas of the cosmic ideation and impress it on matter. Okay? So that is what is meant by Dhyan Chauhan. And then planetary spirit, generally it refers to a hierarchy of celestial beings. It is not one being, it is a hierarchy of celestial beings, and they are in charge of building the cosmos or a solar system or a particular planet. Okay, they are the rulers and governors of the planet. Now, these Dhyani Buddhas or the Dhyan Chauhans, they are concerned with the human spirit. And planetary spirits, they are concerned with something to do with the fourth principle of man. Rather, they rule the destiny of planets and also the fate of men. So there is a difference between their functions. Then, so that was the answer given by Mahatma Ji, that Dhyan Chauhans of the lower order, they cannot approach the sun, they will be consumed or annihilated. But the highest planetary, he can. That being can scan the sun and know the sun as it really is. So Sinet's question is the sun the vertex of our Manvantrik chain and of all other chains in the solar system also? Now vertex means the apex. Mahatma Ji is saying unless it is a vertex of a triangle. So vertex just means the apex or the topmost point of or the summit of a hierarchy. So in that respect, the sun is the vertex of all the planetary chains in the solar system collectively. And these planetary chains, they are the fields. They are the fields of evolution in which we live and evolve, spiritually, intellectually, and physically. So this we know is the triple evolutionary scheme. And in this evolution, we move from one chain to the next. As we are told that the life wave has come from the moon chain onto the earth chain, and once 7 rounds of earth chain are completed, this collective evolution of the beings evolving here will move on to the next higher chain. So in this up and down evolutionary scale, that means the ascending and descending arcs of every cycle, we will eventually reach the last of the septenary chain. Okay, and that is the chain which is highest on the scale of perfection. After that, the solar pralay will commence and it will wipe out our solar system. So this is what Mahatma Ji has explained to Sinet in regard to his question on whether the sun is the vertex of our Manvantrik chain. Okay. Then we come to our next question, number 25 and question number 26. So Sinet is asking, he says that Mahatma Ji says it may happen that the spiritual spoil from the fifth, meaning the fifth principle, which is the Mansik principle. The spiritual spoil from the fifth will prove too weak to be reborn in Devachan, in which case its sixth, meaning sixth principle Buddhi, will then and there reclothe itself in new body and enter upon a new earth existence, whether upon this or any other planet. So this seems to want further elucidation. Are there exceptional cases in which two earth lives of the same spiritual monad, okay, meaning two incarnations of the same spiritual monad, do they occur close together than the thousands of years indicated by some previous letter as the almost inevitable limit of such successive lives? So in some earlier letter, Mahatma Ji had indicated that there is a certain period which must elapse before the individuality reincarnates. So, sorry. But here he has mentioned that if there's nothing spiritual found in the fifth principle, then the sixth will then and there reclothe itself in a new body and enter upon a new existence. So does it mean that the incarnations happen close together instead of that limit which he had indicated earlier. Okay. So this spiritual spoil from the fifth are too weak. What does this statement mean? It means that there is nothing higher or spiritual about the manas that can be absorbed by the Atma Buddhi and go into Devachan. Because only that which is all virtuous, noble, and spiritual, only that can be assimilated by the Buddhi. And the lower portion of the manas, which is oriented towards calm, it cannot be absorbed by the Buddhi. So if there is no higher virtuous noble thought, then manas has broken its link with Atma Buddhi and it is enmeshed in calm entirely. So what happens in such a case? In such a case, the entire fifth principle, it remains as a shell and immediately it will sink to the eighth sphere or avicci. You should recall that the higher manas, it serves as the causal body. Okay, causal body, it is the storehouse of all the good and bad tendencies in germ form. And it is this causal body, the karmic body, which guides the rebirth of the ego. But in the case where the entire Mansic principle has become a shell because there was no virtuous or spiritual component of that manas, in that case, there is no causal body or karmic body which can guide the rebirth of monad after the Devachanic period is over. So we should understand here that bereft of the Mansic principle, when there is no Mansic principle, the higher manas, okay, then the monad or Atma Buddhi, it remains in a state of non-being. State of non-being means there is no sense of identity or individuality. The state of being or the sense of individuality, it occurs only due to the presence of the Mansic principle. And in this case, the Mansic principle, it is totally enmeshed with calm, broken the link with Buddhi and sinks to the eighth sphere. So nothing is assimilated with Buddhi. Therefore, it is said that the Atma Buddhi, it goes into a state of non-being. The monad goes into a state of non-being. It doesn't have a sense of individuality. Now, this state of non-being, it actually lasts from 1000 to 2000 years. And then the monad reincarnates upon this planet or perhaps any other planet. Why any other planet? Because there is no karmic body to make it be born or incarnate on Earth. Okay, only the causal body will cause birth on this planet. So Mahatmaji is again, he's clarifying, he's emphasizing that no monad can ever reincarnate before its appointed cycle, except in the case of the initiated persons. Okay, for all normal human beings, that much time lapse has to be there, 2000 years or 1000 to 2000 years. But the people who are initiated, so they have moved above this cycle of reincarnation. Such a people, they may choose to shorten their devachanic period, or they may choose to shorten the period between two incarnations. And these such initiated persons are like the Teshu Lamas or the Bodhisattva and a few others. Now, these Teshu Lamas, they are actually the second highest in rank after the Dalai Lama. The Dalai Lama, we all know. Now, the second highest, that means under him, next come these Teshu Lamas. They are also called Panchen Lamas. And they have this ability to shorten their period between two incarnations. Also, the Bodhisattva is mentioned. Bodhisattva are those beings who have attained enlightenment, enlightened existence. So, enlightenment is bodh, comes from the Sanskrit word budh. So, bodh or bodhi, and existence is sattva, the essence. So, enlightened existence or bodhisattva. And they need only one more incarnation to become the perfect Buddha. So, apart from this, The universal law is that a period of 1000 to 2000 years elapses between two incarnations. But one thing I want here to you to contemplate upon, that when we are talking about these cycles of incarnation, remember that the notion of time as it is on our physical plane, it is not the same in the higher planes, especially astral and devachanic plane. It is different. So when we say 1000 2000 years here on our physical plane, what does it mean for that individuality which is resting in the devachanic plane? That is a point to think about. With this, we come to question number 27. In this question, okay, so Sinet is referring to the case of Gito. Gito was a person. He says, this case of Gito is puzzling. I can understand his being in a state in which the crime he committed is ever present to his imagination. But how does he toss into confusion and shuffle the destinies of millions of persons? So we need to understand the background. What is this case of Gito? This person, Charles Julius Gito, he lived from 1841 to 1882. And he was an American preacher, writer, and lawyer. American. And he was convicted of assassinating the US president at that time, who was James Garfield. And then this fellow Gito, he was hung for his crime. So Mahatma Ji has made a reference to him in his letter, chronological letter number 70C. There, in that letter, Mahatma Ji was explaining the after-death states. And he explained that since Gito died by being hanged, so it was not the natural death or the natural lifespan. He died by being hanged. So he went into a state of replay, where during that state, his imagination will keep on firing the president. That is a mental state where his thought will keep on repeating. Okay, and thereby this will toss into confusion and shuffle the destiny of millions of people. So this Mahatma Ji had mentioned in the chronological letter 70. Now Sinet is referring to the same letter and asking that how can Gito toss into confusion and shuffle the destinies of millions of people? It is okay that his mind has gone into this loop. His imagination is repeating. But what does that have to do with the destinies of other people? So Mahatma Ji answers that, suppose if you are supposed to do something today and you procrastinate it, you do not do, you put it off until tomorrow, then even such a simple change of events, it leads to a very forceful effect. This happens in our day-to-day life. We are supposed to do something today, we don't do it today, and then it has a lot of repercussions. Okay, so those effects, they may be invisible. We may not know how they are affecting other people, and their effect is imperceptible at first. But actually, in reality, it can create huge confusion, and in some cases, it can shuffle the destinies. The fate of millions of people can be changed for good or for bad, or simply just a change. Now, what this means is that every incident, every choice made by anyone in the world, it has a ripple effect. It is touching and influencing the life of millions of people and changing it. Though it may not be apparent to us, it is not noticeable to us. I'll give you a hypothetical example. Okay, suppose a person was supposed to take a flight. He's going to the airport, but he misses the flight. And the flight crashes, the one which he had to board. Now, this is totally a hypothetical scenario, but things like that may happen. Another example, if a person, suppose he has to appear for a job interview. So he's going for the job interview, taking a bus, and by chance, the person who was going to interview him, he also chooses to travel by bus. They don't know each other, but there is a conversation between them. And then that fellow, when he reaches for the interview, he is chosen by his boss who met him on the bus. Okay. Now, in a alternate scenario, suppose if that boss had not chosen to travel by bus, he chose to travel by his own car, then he would never have met that aspirant on the bus. Then, when that aspirant reaches the office, he is rejected in the interview. You see how things can change. Just a chance meeting can bring about a different effect, or not meeting can result into some different scenarios. So this is just to give an example. So similarly, the unexpected and horrid murder of the US president by Gito, it, Mahatmaji says, it influenced the destiny of millions. Perhaps, maybe if the president had continued to live, he may have brought in social changes or political changes, or new relations with other countries, affecting the lives of people for better or for worse. But that did not happen. So perhaps their destinies were shuffled. Now, so that's a very simple thing to understand. This brings us to question 28 on obscurations. Now, obscurations are a subject at present which are wrapped in obscurity. Sinnett says this. He says that they take place after the last man of any given round has passed on to the next planet. But I want to make out how the next superior round forms are evolved. Okay, forms meaning the bodies. When the fifth round spiritual monads arrive, what fleshy habitations are ready for them? So, if you recall, man evolves through three streams: his physical evolution, that is his form, his intellectual evolution, which is his mind, and the spiritual evolution, his buddhi manas. Okay. This question is asked about what will be the material form of the evolving fifth round beings. And Sinnett further said that going back to the only former letter in which Mahatmaji has dealt with obscuration, there he has written that we have traced man out of a round into the nirvanic state between Z and A. That means the first and the last globe. A was left in the last round dead. As the new round begins, it catches the new influx of life, reawakens to vitality, and begets all its kingdoms of a superior order to the last. After one round is completed, then A, which was left dead, it will reawaken to vitality, influx of life, and beget all its kingdoms, which will be of a higher order, slightly higher order. So to this, Mahatmaji says that planet A becomes dead, but to resurrect in greater glory. So this is plain enough. And then explaining about obscurations, Mahatmaji says that the individual units of mankind, okay, individuality of every man, it remains 100 times longer in the transitory spheres of effects than on the globes. Globes are the spheres of causes, and transitory spheres of effects are the astral sphere and the devachanic sphere and the causal sphere. Okay, so Earth chain is septenary. There are these 7 globes. All these globes are the spheres of causes, where when man performs actions, he's creating karma while he's living and evolving on these globes. Okay, as we are doing now. And upon physical death, man enters into those states which are determined by the effects of these causes, which he already created. They are his astral and devachanic states. Okay. When all 7 races are completed, then the earth, that is our globe D, this is the 4th globe, it will go into obscuration, meaning dormancy, inactivity. And at that time, the human individuality, it will remain in the sphere of effects, because the globe D is an obscuration. So where are all the monads or the individualities? They are in the sphere of effects. That means astral or mental, that is devachanic or causal. And they remain there for a duration which is 100 times the globe period, which means that the duration spent in the sphere of effects, it is 100 times the period it took to evolve the 7 root races on the globe. That is one globe period. So it is 100 times that. You see how long the duration of effects is. Now, Mahatmaji also added that the few men of the 5th round, they do not beget children of the 5th, but of your 4th round. Presently, we are in the 4th round. But 5th round men, they have been coming in on this earth for the last few thousand years. This has been mentioned in some previous letter. And humanity of, see what we mean by humanity of fourth round or humanity of fifth round, it implies a certain level of development, of spiritual maturity based on our septenary principles as we evolve through these seven bodies or the seven planes. Okay, so in each round, a certain level of development, a spiritual maturity is gained. That is meant by humanity of that round. So when we say people of the fifth round, meaning their development of their mental and higher faculties is equivalent to any person who would have been going through the fifth round. So Plato and Confucius, they were considered fifth round men. And Lord Buddha, he was a sixth round man. And at present on our earth, we are in the fourth round. But even though a child who is born of the fifth round, like say those men, Plato and Confucius, they were fifth round men, but a child born of the fifth round man, that child will still, it will have the evolutionary level of a fourth rounder. It will not be as highly evolved as a fifth rounder. Okay, not even Gautam Buddha's son was anything but a fourth rounder. This is mentioned in these letters. So further Mahatma Ji says that obscurations are not pralay. So we need to understand the term what is obscuration and what is pralay. As per Theosophy, obscuration, it is a state of rest. There is total suspension of the activity on the globe when the globe is in obscuration. Okay, the life wave, it quits that globe and it moves on to the next globe. Remember that these globes are not sequentially placed one after the other, they are interpenetrating. So it is just that from the physical level, the life wave has moved on to the next globe, which is at the next level. So really speaking, actually, even during obscurations, there are some spiritual beings which are left behind on that dormant or globe which is in obscuration. They are the seeds for evolution when life will reawaken on the planet in the next round. They are called Shishta, but we won't go into that now. For us, obscuration here means total suspension of activities. Now, pralay means something different. How manifestation happens? It is by differentiation of the one principle. It differentiates and descends lower and lower. So whatever has manifested through differentiation of that one principle, it gets reabsorbed through dissolution and integration back into its source principle. That is pralay. And there are different levels of pralay. Pralay can be of the material body, it can be of the psychical bodies, or it can be of the spiritual egos. Okay. So all that is one, the lowest is absorbed into the next highest, which is absorbed into its next previous source, and it can continue. So at that time, when it is everything is absorbed into the one principle, then there is equilibrium in all the three states of matter. So that is like a universal pralay. Okay, so this is the distinction between obscuration and pralay. In obscuration, the globe will remain as it is, but there will be total suspension of activities. Now, what Mahatma Ji mentioned that the obscurations, they last in a proportion of 1 to 10. It means that if a globe period, or he has used the term ring. So if a ring or a globe period, it lasts, say, suppose 10 millions of years. That is the example Mahatma Ji gives. If the globe period is lasting for 10 millions years, then the obscuration will last for not more than 1 million year. So obscuration to globe period is a proportion of 1 to 10. Along with this fourth round humanity, we said that there are also some fifth round men, though they may be far and few. But during the obscuration of our earth, the fifth round men, they will be resting in their Devachan and spiritual lok for a longer duration as compared to the fourth round individualities. Okay. First of all, remember that the Devachanic period and rest in those higher lok, it is subjective. Okay. And because the fifth round men, they are more evolved, they are more spiritual, they will have a longer duration of their devachans and spiritual lok as compared to the devachanic period of fourth round men. Okay, because they are more perfect. Now, Sinet is wishing to understand how in the next superior round forms are evolved. How will be the substantial basis or the material body of those superior beings? Mahatmaji says that these are questions which pertain to the highest initiations. And at present, only a general view can be given. The details cannot be given. And even if he were to give us any details, it would not be intelligible to us because it is one of the highest mysteries than which there is no higher one. But that does not stop you from contemplating and trying to understand that how evolution will proceed. Intuitively, you may get glimpses. Which now brings us to the last question, or question 29. So in this question, Sinet, he's still persisting. He's very persistent. He's persisting to inquire about how forms are evolved in subsequent rounds. And he asks, but it has to begin. That means the life wave, it has to begin at the beginning again between each round and evolve human forms from animals from vegetable, etc. If so, to what round do the first imperfectly evolved men belong? X hypothesis to the fifth, but the fifth should be a more perfect race in all respects. So again, he wants to know in which order they evolve one from the other. And do in every round, does the life wave has to start from the beginning? That is from mineral and plant and animal. So Mahatma Ji says, of course not. What is the point in evolution if the life wave has to start from the beginning? He says that at each round, the life wave is not destroyed. In between the rounds, the life wave is not destroyed. It remains crystallized, as we said, dormant or suspended. So it remains in status quo. And it does not have to begin at the beginning in the subsequent round. Okay, it will start from the point where it had left off. Now, Mahatma Ji says that at each round, there are less and less animals because they evolve into higher forms. We have studied in Theosophy, this happens through individualization of the soul. The animals have a group soul and they individualize. That individualized body becomes the causal body of man. So, animal form, but a human soul. That is how the humans evolve. So, there are less and less animals at each round. And during the first round, animals were predominant. They actually dominated the globe. They were the kings of creation. And up to the 3.5 rounds, they evolve into higher forms. After which, the door for entry from animal to human kingdom, it gets closed. So that is after 3.5 rounds. And then during the 7th round, men will evolve. They will have evolved to become gods. They will spiritually mature. So they would have evolved to become gods. It means that they would have spiritually matured to consciously function through their upper triad. Conscious functioning through Atma, Buddhi, Manas. That is what makes man a god. And animals, they will also evolve, and their mental faculty that will evolve and they will become intelligent beings. So based on this, Mahatma Ji asks us to draw our own inferences that how the evolution proceeds. And this evolutionary plan, it is quite different in each round. It is not uniform that in every round this will be the sequence. In fact, even the second round was markedly different from the first round. Because ultimately, whatever may be the sequence in each round, but ultimately everything has to evolve through its cyclic journey and it has to reach perfection. It is only in the first round that man becomes from a human being on globe B, a mineral, a plant, an animal on planet C. This method changes entirely from the second round. So that Mahatma Ji has already mentioned that second round has a different sequence of evolution and third, fourth, which is our present, also the sequence keeps changing. And whatever information, whatever knowledge he is giving about these rounds and races and evolution, all this knowledge, it could fill volumes upon volumes. So we must first meditate and study and digest what has been given to us till the time comes to receive more knowledge. While we do not understand the whole correctly, there may seem contradictions. Even now, there is a lot of discussion, a lot of doubts. So there may seem contradictions, but these contradictions will be due to our limited understanding, not any error on the part of the Mahatmas. So with this, we complete this rather long letter number 93A and B. Thank you so much. And now we will discuss this letter. Anybody having any doubts, any questions from even the previous parts of the letters, we can take them up now. Or before the questions, I forgot, we need to have the translation in Hindi. So may I request Sister Meenakshi ji to give us the translation in Hindi.
नमस्ते सभी को, थैंक यू सिस्टर। आज हम लेटर नंबर 93A और B का शेष भाग ले रहे हैं। सीनेट का प्रश्न है, वे पूछते हैं मास्टर से कि जैसे कि एलन कार्डेक कहते हैं, क्या सूर्य अत्यधिक उन्नत जीवों का निवास स्थान है? क्या यह हमारी मनवंतरिक श्रृंखला का चरम बिंदु है और इस सौर मंडल की अन्य सभी श्रृंखलाओं का भी चरम बिंदु है? मास्टर कहते हैं कि कतई नहीं। निम्नतर श्रेणी के ध्यान चौहान अपने शरीर को भस्म किए बिना या नष्ट किए बिना उसके समीप नहीं जा सकते हैं। केवल सर्वोच्च प्लैनेटरी ही उसका अवलोकन यानी सूर्य का अवलोकन कर सकते हैं। लेकिन सामूहिक रूप से यह सभी चेन्स का चरम बिंदु है। हम सब जो इन चेन्स के निवासी हैं, सौर प्रलय हमारी छोटी सी प्रणाली को नष्ट करने से पहले हमें पूर्णत्व प्राप्ति के लिए सेप्टेनरी चेन्स के आखिरी और उच्च उन्नततम चेन्स तक विकास करते हुए जीना होगा। सीनेट का अगला क्वेश्चन है कि आप कहते हैं ऐसा हो सकता है कि पांचवें तत्व से आध्यात्मिकता की कमी देवाचन में पुनर्जन्म लेने के लिए बहुत ही दुर्बल होंगी। इस स्थिति में उसका छठा तत्व तत्क्षण एक नया शरीर धारण करके भूलोक पर पुनर्जन्म लेगा, चाहे इस ग्रह पर या अन्य ग्रह पर। ऐसा लगता है कि इसे और अधिक स्पष्ट करने की जरूरत है। क्या यह अपवादात्मक मामले हैं जिनमें एक ही स्पिरिचुअल मोनार्ड के दो भूलोकीय जीवन ऐसे क्रमिक जीवन की लगभग अनिवार्य सीमा के रूप में कुछ पिछले पत्रों में इंगित 1000 वर्षों की तुलना में करीब करीब जन्म हो सकते हैं? इस पर मास्टर उत्तर देते हैं कि यहाँ छठे और सातवें तत्वों से संबंधित यह है, पांचवे से नहीं, क्योंकि मनस को इस मामले में एक शेल के रूप में बने रहना होगा। उसे मीडियम से मिलने का समय नहीं मिलेगा, क्योंकि यह तत्क्षण 8वें स्फीयर में अस्त होना शुरू कर देता है। अनंतता में तब और वहां एक बहुत ही लंबी अवधि हो सकती है। इसका अर्थ केवल इतना है कि मोनार्ड के पास अपने पुनर्जन्म को मार्गदर्शित करने के लिए कोई कार्मिक शरीर नहीं है, जो कुछ काल के लिए अस्तित्वहीन हो जाता है और फिर निश्चित ही 1 या 2000 साल पहले जन्म नहीं लेता। हमारे टेशु लामा और बोधिसत्वों तथा इन जैसे दीक्षितों को छोड़कर कोई भी मोनार्ड अपने नियत किए हुए साइकिल के पहले पुनर्जन्म नहीं लेते। सीनेट का अगला क्वेश्चन है कि ग्यूटो के मामले का संदर्भ उलझन भरा है। मैं समझ सकता हूँ कि वह ऐसी स्थिति में है जिसमें उसने जो अपराध किया है वह उसकी कल्पना में हमेशा मौजूद रहेगा, लेकिन वह लाखों लोगों की नियति को कैसे उलझन में डालता है और फेरबदल करता है? इस पर मास्टर उत्तर देते हैं कि अगर आज कुछ करने के बजाय आप उसे अगले दिन तक टाल देते हैं, तो क्या यह भी पहले अदृश्य और अगोचर रूप से फिर भी बलात् कई चीजों को उलझन में नहीं डालता और कुछ मामलों में लाखों लोगों की नियति को भी बदल देता है, चाहे वह अच्छे के लिए हो या बुरे के लिए हो, या बस किसी बदलाव के सिलसिले में हो जो अपने आप में महत्वहीन हो, फिर भी वह बदलाव है। और क्या आप यह कहना चाहते हैं कि ऐसी अनपेक्षित भयानक हत्या ने लाखों लोगों की नियति को प्रभावित नहीं किया है? सीनेट का अगला क्वेश्चन है, ऑब्स्क्यूरेशन का विषय अभी भी अस्पष्ट है। वे किसी भी राउंड के अंतिम मनुष्य के अगले ग्रह पर चले जाने के बाद होता है, लेकिन मैं यह समझता हूँ कि अगले उच्चतर राउंड के रूप कैसे विकसित होते हैं। जब पांचवें राउंड के उन्नत मोनार्ड का आगमन होता है, तब उनके लिए कौन सा अन्नमय कोश तैयार रहता है? पिछले पिछले पत्र में आपने ऑब्स्क्यूरेशन का जो वर्णन किया है, उसमें मैं पाता हूँ कि हमने जी और ए के बीच निर्वाणिक अवस्था में एक राउंड के मनुष्य का पता लगाया। एक ग्लोब को पिछले राउंड को में मृत छोड़ दिया गया था। जैसे ही नया राउंड शुरू होता है, वह जीवन के नए प्रवाह को लेता है, उसमें चेतना लाता है और अपने सभी किंगडम्स को अंतिम तक उच्चतर बनाता है। मास्टर उत्तर देते हैं कि मानव जाति की प्रत्येक इकाई ग्लोब्स की तुलना में परिणामों के स्फीयर्स, संक्रमणकालिक स्फीयर्स में 100 गुना अधिक समय तक रहती है। पांचवें राउंड के कुछ लोग पांचवें राउंड के नहीं बल्कि चौथे राउंड के बच्चे पैदा करते हैं। ऑब्स्क्यूरेशन प्रलय नहीं है और वे 1:10 के अनुपात में रहता है, यानी यदि एक ग्लोब पीरियड वह अवधि जिसके दौरान 7 रूट रेसेस को विकसित होना होता है और उस राउंड के दौरान ग्लोब पर अपनी अंतिम स्थिति तक पहुंचना है, वह 10 मिलियन वर्ष तक रहता है। बेशक यह बहुत लंबे समय तक रहता है, तब ऑब्स्क्यूरेशन 1 मिलियन से अधिक समय तक नहीं रहेगा। जब हमारा ग्लोब अपने चौथे राउंड के मनुष्य और पांचवें राउंड के बहुत ही थोड़े मनुष्य से छुटकारा पाकर निद्रिस्त हो जाएगा, तब अपने विश्राम की अवधि के दौरान पांचवें राउंड के मनुष्य अपने देवाचन और स्पिरिचुअल लोक में विश्राम कर रहे होंगे। किसी भी तरह चौथे राउंड के एंजल्स की तुलना में कहीं अधिक समय तक रहेंगे, क्योंकि वे कहीं अधिक परिपूर्ण हैं। आप कहते हैं, मैं यह समझना चाहता हूं कि अगले उच्च राउंड के रूप कैसे विकसित होंगे। इस पर मास्टर बोलते हैं कि मेरे मित्र, यह समझने की कोशिश करो कि आप मुझसे उच्च दीक्षाओं संबंधी प्रश्न पूछ रहे हो। मैं आपको सर्वसाधारण वर्णन दे सकता हूँ, हालांकि मैं आपको संतुष्ट कर सकता हूँ, लेकिन मैं न तो विस्तृत वर्णन करने की हिम्मत कर सकता हूँ और न ही विस्तार में जाऊंगा। क्या आपको नहीं लगता कि यह सबसे उच्चतम रहस्यों में से एक है, जिससे बढ़कर कोई रहस्य नहीं है? सीनेट का अगला क्वेश्चन है, लेकिन क्या प्रत्येक राउंड के आरंभ में इसे फिर से आरंभ करना है और पशु से मानव रूप का विकास करना है, वनस्पति से पशु आदि? यदि ऐसा है तो प्रथम अपूर्ण रूप से विकसित मनुष्य किस राउंड से संबंधित है? पूर्व अनुमान पांचवें से है, लेकिन पांचवी रेस सभी तरह से अधिक परिपूर्ण होनी चाहिए। इस पर मास्टर उत्तर देते हैं, बेशक नहीं, क्योंकि यह नष्ट नहीं होती है, बल्कि यथास्थिति रहती है। प्रत्येक राउंड में जानवर कम से कम हो जाते हैं जो उच्चतर रूपों में विकसित होते हैं। पहले राउंड के दौरान वे ही सृष्टि के अग्रणी थे। सातवें राउंड के दौरान मनुष्य, देवता और जानवर बुद्धिमान जीव बन चुके होंगे। इसका आप अनुमान करें। दूसरे राउंड से ही विकास एक बिल्कुल अलग योजना पर आगे बढ़ता है। सब कुछ विकसित होता है और उसे अपनी चक्रीय यात्रा पर आगे बढ़ना होता है और परिपूर्ण होना होता है। यह पहला राउंड है जिसमें मनुष्य ग्लोब बी पर एक मानव बनता है, ग्लोब सी पर एक खनिज, एक पौधा, एक पशु बनता है। दूसरे राउंड से यह पद्धति पूरी तरह से बदल जाती है। लेकिन मैंने आपके साथ समझदारी सीखी है और कहने का समय आने से पहले कुछ नहीं कहूंगा। और अब आपके पास एक ग्रंथ संग्रह है। आप इसे कब आत्मसात करेंगे? अपने पूर्णतः सही तरह से समझने के पहले मुझे कितने विरोधाभासों के संदेहों का सामना करना होगा, ऐसा मास्टर सीनियर से कहते हैं। थैंक यू। नमस्ते।
Thank you, Meenakshi ji, for this excellent effort of translating the entire letter into Hindi. Thank you so much. I now request the participants, if there are any questions, we can discuss those points and your doubts.
What is Devachan? You are saying of something to do with Devachan. What is it? I mean, is it some kind of a plane, a Pitrulok or something like that, where the soul stays?
You want to understand what is Devachan? Okay. See that man is a septenary being, and as per the theosophic literature, what has given, if you study that, you will understand that there are many after death states. So there are certain immediately after death, there is the state where the unfulfilled desires, they are still existing. So the remaining principles of man after the physical body is dissolved, the remaining principles, they will remain in that state. After that, there is a separation of principles. So for first of all, you need to understand what are the 7 principles of man. Okay. So after a while, the higher and the lower principles, they separate. The higher principles are the spiritual principles, which is Atma, Buddhi, Manas, and they go into a dormant state. Okay. And the lower principle, which is it is called the shell or the calm roop. It will continue till the force of desires dissipates. After that, the higher principles which went into dormancy, they will go into the devachanic state, which is a mental state. It is a subjective state and it is unique for each individual. It is not common to every individual. And depending on or proportionate to the good karma of the person, that individuality or that being spends time in the devachanic state. It is what in our normal Hindu scriptures it is called Swargalok. Okay.
Yeah.
And then after that, as per the causal body, whatever the karmic germs are stored in that causal body, as per that, then the being, it takes rebirth again. The devachanic period gets over, which is proportionate to its good karma, and then the being takes birth again. So again, the lower mental and the astral and the physical bodies, they are formed.
Thank you, ma'am.
Most
Understood.
welcome.
VIBHA, what you stated is correct. So just want to say from physical body, when man passes away, he goes into the astral plane.
Yes.
He spends some lives, like if he's an alcoholic, he might spend 40 to 50 years going around the bars and, so, he's alcoholic, so he goes from bar to bar and he gets frustrated. So after 40, 50 years, he passes away. There's another death, second death. The cerebral cord is disconnected between the astral body and then mental body. Then it goes into the mental plane. He remains there for slightly longer than, obviously, he has to go through that one. And then the next plane is the Devachan. So we don't go into the causal body because we remain in the Devachan until the next birth, which is correctly as you have stated. So this is why when somebody passes away from my friends or relatives or something, I don't send the messages about condolences or something like that. I said, let the soul carry on his journey. May he carry on his journey into the higher planes.
True.
And reach Devachan as soon as possible so that he can reincarnate again.
True.
So I put into practice what we teach. Yes. I don't know, VIBHA, I maybe late in last week. Did you go through the question number 11 and 12, isn't it?
The question number 11 and 12 of this current letter?
Yeah, 93A.
Mm-hmm.
It's about the sun. What is the sun like?
Yes.
What science of those days, what they had studied and what they had said. Even I don't know whether the science of today even, do they know what's written in the answer to Master Kutumi's answer to that question number 11?
Mm-hmm.
Because I read somewhere the heat that we are getting it is not from the sun.
Mm-hmm.
Sun does not emit heat. It's the collision between the millions of the cyclones, I mean the stones, like, I mean, the crushing and that one is what is sending us the heat. Because even in the evening, we would still feel very hot in Mumbai.
Mm-hmm.
Even after sunset, it should get cooler, but still is still heat there. You still feel that heat.
The heat.
So
did you read this in any letter, in any of the Mahatma letters?
yes, it is somewhere there. In the same letter, this is what I want young theosophists to go through this question number 11 and 12 and see the reply. So those who are in the scientific classes, I think we should see, can you read this and
Yeah,
get the
in
answer?
this,
Because
true.
the sun is only gaseous. He says it's only gaseous. And it's a reflection of, of the other sun throwing the light on this sun. And what we are seeing, like the moonlight, which is the sun's light reflecting on the moon. And the moon's light is what we see it.
Right. The physical sun which we see in the sky, that is not the real sun. It is the shadow of the real sun. So, and in this very letter, it mentions that more than 90% of the heat or the energy of the sun, it is lost in the transition while, traveling from the sun to the earth. And only that very little part which reaches the earth, that is sufficient to nurture the earth, whatever life is there on the earth. This is given in the current letter itself, the loss of the heat from the sun. And I also recall
remember
reading that.
the word. I remember the word. It's a cosmic dust, the collision of the cosmic dust, which is away from the sun. Because the sun is only magnetic and electricity, gaseous.
Electromagnetic ball of electromagnetic forces.
Yeah. So it's made out of gas, and then we think that is a solid. And science, when they say there are flames going out, there's nothing like flames. So this is what I want to study. I want the students of the science clues in classes in the university or somewhere, if you can get members to go and study this one. And there is another book which was not done when the Senate was alive. Is a divine plan. In the divine plan, this A to Z and planets and races and all that is mentioned very clearly in the divine plan.
Correct.
So maybe I've read it in the divine plan. Maybe I read it in the letters. But I'm going through what I've done. I've printed out 93A and 93B letters. Made a photocopy of them. Then I'm cutting the question and putting the answer. So number one question, one answer. So we immediately can go through question one and the answer. Then question two and the answer, like that one. So I'm cutting the question and pasting it onto the answers.
Right. That simplifies the study, and that is the method we have followed in studying this online also. So you're right. Even today, science is not really clear or not very sure about what it says about the sun. So they consider that the hydrogen atoms, they are fusing, hydrogen molecules are fusing into helium. That is what is the said by the contemporary science. But Mahatma Ji asks us to think that, do you think that physical matter alone can give you all that heat, light, and energy of which the sun is, of which it is alluded to the sun? It is not possible. In fact, he says that the matter of the sun belongs to the 6th and the 7th state of matter. So this is a very, very important statement. It is
Yes.
the one occult statement which Mahatma Ji has given about the information of the sun, that the matter of the sun, it belongs to the sixth and the seventh state of matter. We should think about it. Sixth state of
Yes.
matter is the matter of buddhi. Think
Yes.
of universal buddhi. And seventh state of matter is abstract. It is the highest state. That is what
Yes.
he said is the electromagnetic force. Now, those forces of the sixth and seventh plane, when they are manifesting on the physical plane, so they are differentiated at each level. When they reach the physical level, they manifest as electromagnetic force.
Yeah. So what will happen is this one: when we reach the sixth stage, our pituitary gland will awaken. The faculty of the pituitary gland will awaken, and on the seventh one, the pineal gland will open. So everybody is going to see the truth when they reach pineal gland. Another thing about obscurity, I heard also read recently about the moon. You know, the moon is a dying body.
Yes.
Dying, physically is dying. It's also getting smaller and smaller. At one time, another maybe, I don't know, 10,000 years or 100,000 years, there will be no moon will be seen by our grandchildren.
True, true. That is mentioned. It is given in these letters that the moon is a dying planet and all seven globes, like they are withering away. They are turning to dust. And it also goes on to say that one day the earth will also have the same fate when the earth's chain is completed.
After the
Earth will also-
pralay, yes.
Yes.
Final pralay, yes. Then
So
earth will be
become
dead,
the moon,
and we will go into another planet.
chain.
Yes.
Very nice, Jitendra ji. Thank you so much for sharing your views with us. Anybody else would like to share their views on the concepts which we have studied? And I have received one question from Brother Sharma ji from Ujjain. I would like to take that question. He has mentioned regarding question number 18. Madam Joy Mills on her commentary says that Devachan seems to be a monadic state. We just talked about monadic state with Brother Jitendra ji. The Devachanic state. No, I think it was the question from Sister Jayashri, right? So what Joy Mills has written in her commentary, that Devachan seems to be a monadic state strongly colored by the personal, albeit spiritual experiences of the late physical life. So the question posed by Brother Sharmaji is how Devachan is a monadic state. Now, what happens in the Devachanic state? Only the higher principles, that is Atma, Buddhi, Manas, they go into the state of Devachan. Before entering into the Devachanic state, there is a struggle between the higher and lower principles, and they are separated, right? So before this separation happens, see, understand what is the monad. Monad are the sixth and the seventh principle, that is the Atma and the Buddhi. So that anyway remains in the higher state. It does not come down to the lower level. It interacts with our personality, which is on the lower four levels, through the manas. Okay. So that monadic state or the Atma Buddhi, which is always in the higher planes, it will be colored by the experiences gained by manas, if they are the spiritual experiences. Okay. So those spiritual, noble and virtuous experiences, they are assimilated with the buddhi. So that is the meaning that the monad gets colored by the spiritual experiences of the manas, which experienced these events while it was living in the physical life, in the physical body. Okay. So Devachan is true. It is a monadic state which is now colored by the experiences of the manas, the spiritual experiences of the manas. So I hope that answers the first question, how Devachan is a monadic state. It is a monadic state because it is Atma Buddhi, but it is colored by the experiences of manas, the pure manas, which has now been assimilated with Atma Buddhi. And then part 2 of the question has been asked that in Devachan, only the experiences of the last physical life affect and not other previous ones. Yes, that is true. Only the physical life which has just been closed, that will determine the immediate devachanic state of the ego. It will not be based on the life of the previous personalities, because that life already gave rise to the effect of the devachanic state of that particular ego. Okay. Now this is the next incarnation. So in the next incarnation, this present life, whatever is there, it will determine the devachanic state. Okay. Only at the end of the round, when one round is completed, suppose this is now we are in fourth round, when the fourth round is completed, then all the collective lives throughout this round, it will be remembered by the ego just before going into devachan. So then that may affect the devachanic state at the end of the round, but not in every incarnation. Every incarnation, that devachan is dependent only in the previous life which is just closed.
Okay, thank you, madam. One more question.
Yes.
In simple term, what is eighth sphere?
What is eighth sphere? Eighth sphere has been mentioned as avicci. It has been mentioned as that state. See, there are no separate spheres. It is just for our understanding. It is basically a state. And this state of avicci, it is the direct counterpart to the state of devachan. Devachan is a state of total bliss, because everything spiritual and noble, it is there in that, it has been assimilated, and it is there in that subjective state. So exactly opposite to it, that means when the manas did not go through any spiritual or noble experience, it was totally selfish or wicked or oriented towards these earthly and material desires. So such a manas which has severed its link with Atma Buddhi, that will go into this state, again a subjective state, which is counterpart of devachan. So it will be a state of total misery, where that being, it will have this subjective experience of suffering.
Okay, madam. Thank you very much. One more little question.
So Avicii is hell, like in the Christian
In
Bible.
Christian terminology,
What they mean hell, that's what the
Yes.
Avicii is.
Yes.
Yes, madam, one more little question.
Yes.
The cell referred to in reply 25 and 26 is probably a Mara Rupa, within bracket compounded of fourth, fifth, and the drag of the sixth principle. This Mara Rupa is how this sixth principle is included.
I need to understand which question you're talking about. I mean, in the letter, which
25th,
question?
26.
25th.
The cell referred to in reply 25th and 26th is probably a Mara Rupa, M-A-R-A, Mara Rupa, compounded of fourth, fifth, and drag of the sixth principle. Why sixth principle in Mara Rupa? Mara Rupa means Maya Rupa, na?
1 minute, I need to see. I'll just open the letter. I did not locate that.
Okay, we will discuss next time. Eh?
Yeah, I couldn't
Thank you.
find that. If anybody else has the answer to this, you may please discuss it. Perhaps Shindeji or Pradeepji. I couldn't find that line in the letter. Let me just try again. Or we can take it offline.
No, leave aside whether it is in letter or not. What he is asking is, am I audible?
Yes, yes, sir. Please continue.
So what the question is, Mara Rupa is explained there, what he read now, and it consists of sixth principle. It is like Angulimal. Angulimal was a spiritual person. He was doing many evil things. Still he reached to that state and immediately he got transformed. That means it is such kind of state where there is a lot of evil, but that has reached to that peak. And that peak is these principles. And what we have to understand is, from your explanation, I really realized this bodhisattva or whatever stage is there. This is real self-realization. Self-realization is this state. The esoteric part of self-realization is we are forgetting completely the personality. We are always with the higher self. That is self-realization, and that is that reach. Our aim is to reach that. Even evolution is also to reach that state. And it can be done not through the evolution. We can push our evolution forward by daily practice, reaching to that Devchanic plane, even in this body. As he said, Mara, yes, we have Mara within us, but still we have this possibility to reach to that state. This understanding will help us to keep our track on the spiritual path. That is what I want to add in it.
Right, sir. Thank you, sir. Followed.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you very much.
Shinde ji,
Yes, sir. You are doing correct understanding. Thank you for that.
Thank you, thank you.
Shinde ji,
Boliye, sir.
I think what the element of particular negativity that was there with the divine forces, and when Buddha was at the state of being enlightened, he was attacked by Mar, and his way of having the particular enlightenment was, I think, disturbed by Mar. And the Mar created different attractions of the worldly possessions.
Yeah, Mara is the king
And-
of evils. That is what it is said.
Yeah, king of evils, king of evils. That is the Mara Rupa. And this kind of forces are there when the person who is practicing the occult science and who has this kind of meditative mind will be attacked, and he will deviate sometimes from what he wants to achieve. I think this Mara Rupa becomes a kind of obstruction, an obstacle in the way. So I think these letters really, I think to epicinate, this kind of letters are there. I think categorically we can have the dissection of the letters. The person who is who received the letters were in a different way. The other person who has received the letters were also of different nature. So for epicinate, whatever these letters are there, that is the central focal point of this particular concentrated subject of the letters. So that should be also practiced and that should be read. Well explained, very nice. And this is really the wonderful today. I attended this session. Thank you very much.
The Mara means the brother of shadows, brotherhood of shadows. There is a evolution of this type. Mara's type, they also have an evolution. So they use magic and powers, tantric the things and so forth,
Yes.
to test us. how so they do test. They can even come up in the form of a Master Kutumi or Master Moria. They could come up in the and then they can cheat you by coming up in their bodies. The brother of shadows, brotherhood of shadows. I think it's mentioned in the letter number 20.
One more thing I would like to add. We should not think much about the Mara, because we must think always about the highest principles. So always we will be in the subjective field, and that will help us to raise above. Mara, you just study for the sake of study, but keep your mind always engaged into the subjective higher principles. So that will help us to go higher and higher instead of getting buried in the Mara and all this. That is what we have been advised. Even HPB said, those who are not believing in the God, they won't see even God. They cannot see the God. In the same manner, having living faith in the perfected beings, in the living faith in the masters of the wisdom, will help us to see the masters. So that living faith is very important, and we always, as Vibhaji is told, we have to be in the seventh principle that Devchan explained, subjective principle, and who are there? Those are the bodhisattvas, what she has explained. Really, that is the real self-realization where it loses its connection with the personality. And that can happen even daily in our life, rising and coming down of consciousness. This is what we have to discuss. Thank you, Vibhaji. You have explained very nicely. You are mute. You are mute now. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I just got this letter number 28 printed out. It's a very good letter. I read letter number 30, sorry. Letter number 30. So these are the people like Dhyan Chauhans and Chauhans of darkness. We are of the light.
Yes,
they are of the darkness.
Chauhans of darkness, correct.
You can call it both evolution.
Shindini, is there time that I want to ask one question, Vibhaji?
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Is there time factor related with the kind of evolution of the man? Since Leadbeater has described, we are in the fourth globe, and we have to go through from A to Z. So, being in the fourth globe, our other capacities were developed. Mentally, we have different kinds of approaches, and we are very near to the nature. But again, the negativity was there. So, we went far away from the natural forces also. And therefore, now we have this kind of disturbances and environmental problems. So I think the time factor is there. So earlier I asked the question, even to Rohit Bhai also, he didn't agree with the time factor. He says it continues like that. You cannot have the compartment type or water type of compartment in the time factor. You cannot think over that. But it goes on like that. So how it should be understood? Is there any clue given? I didn't find in any letter.
There is no time factor. There is no time factor, it is true. Because it is an eternal cycle which is going on. There is no question of limitation of time. And as you, Harshavardhan, said, there is a day of selection. And even now, 7th round people are already, 6th round people are already selected. And they are being developed. This is all going on. It is not time factor. So if we reach to that stage, they will be selected. It is going on. It is very difficult to comprehend all such kind of letters and divine plan. It is beyond our human concept.
Yes, very.
Only we have to believe or have trust. That is the only way we can have and understand.
I would like to mention about time, which you have asked. The time, how it passes on our physical plane. It is a sequence of changes. Due to the changes in a sequence, we perceive time. That one change is happening before, after that follows the next and the next. Okay, so this is a focus of our consciousness, which is going over sequential events. That is defining the time on our plane. But when we move to a higher plane, our consciousness, higher plane naturally means that the consciousness has unfolded. So it is encompassing a larger, I don't have better words, so I'm using the term region. It is comprising a larger region. So for such a consciousness, the events, they will also be at a different pace. You understand what I'm saying? If we go to the highest level, we say that Brahma, he is omnipresent, present everywhere, now and here. Because this entire Brahmand is his body. So he knows everything is in the now. He knows everything here and now. Apply the same thing to human being. Our consciousness is limited to the physical body. Anything happens to the physical body, we know it here and now. That is our present. But anything which is happening in the next room, we have to physically move this body in the next room and see what is happening. So that is because consciousness is limited. You need to take the consciousness there to find out what is happening. That becomes time. But when consciousness is expanded to the universal level, then everything is here and now. So where is the question of time? This is how I understand time.
Yes. Okay, time is not there. Otherwise, some more questions are there, but next time we will take. And really, it is very interesting to go deeper into such subject. And really, it is wonderful, wonderful.
Thank
But
you.
I like your
I got an analogy. I got an analogy of that one.
Yes, Sheetalji,
Sorry.
I think you have some question.
no, not that important. But what you told me, this is I like it.
Thank you.
About time.
Yes, thank you. Yes, Sampatji, you mentioned something.
Yeah, I got an analogy of planet D, which is the Earth now at the moment we are in. So A, B, C, then D. Now there's no other way but going towards upwards now. Evolution will take place. So while we are in the globe D, we have people of the fifth root race. We have the people of the sixth root race, and we have people of the seventh root race. And this people are waiting for us, those in the seventh root race, to take us to the planet E. And we are climbing up. So evolution is taking place. So this is the planet D, includes all human beings of third root race, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh. Like Gautam Buddha is on the seventh root race already.
How will we know that we are going, we are evolving to a higher place? So,
through your meditation, you'll know it through your meditation.
Right. Any more questions? Any question in the chat? I think one question was. Sheetalji, you have put a question in chat.
What is that?
Is it described in as in part 1 in astral plane? I didn't follow the question.
No, I'm just asking the same what is described in part 1 to part 6 of this letter. Is this the astral plane written by WCL?
Yeah, there is this book Death and After, an astral plane. So that will give a lot of information about the after death states. That is right.
Yeah, that's it.
Yes. I thank you all very much for this very involved discussion, which really invokes and helps inspires other people to think about these teachings and understand it for themselves. So with this, we come to the end of our today's session, and next time we will move on to the next letter. So Pradeep, we can bring the session to a close now.
Yes. Yes, Viraj.
Right, sir. So please, all of you may please join in the closing prayer. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Sarvesham Swastirabhavatu Sarvesham Shantirabhavatu Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu Lokaha Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukhabhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti. Namaste. Thank you all for joining.
Thank you so much. We liked
Thank
your
you.
session.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.